Just on a random side note, this is the second time I'm recording this entire audio because the first time sounded like absolute just listen. James Gunn's Superman has finally come out. James Gunn's Superman is finally out, and for preparation for watching it, I decided to rewatch all the live action Superman movies except for Justice League because I mean, let's face it, he's only in the movie for like 20 minutes. It's a 4-hour long movie. Anyway, here's my score for it. 3 out of 5 stars. I like just Zack Snyder's Justice League. We're talking about Justice League. Yeah, no, that movie sucks. I hate it. Half a star. But Superman in it's pretty good, except for the mustache. Still half a star movie. Anyway, let's get into the good and the bad of each of these Superman movies, because honestly, there are things to enjoy in a lot of these movies. So let's get into the reviews for Superman. Superman the movie, starring Christopher Reeve and directed by Richard Donner. Now, a lot of people claim, and you've probably heard this a lot of times, that they say Christopher Reeve is their Superman. Whenever they think about the character, they think Christopher Reeve. And I gotta say, after watching this movie, I definitely can see why. Christopher Reeve definitely carries this movie. He is the best thing about this movie. His performance as Clark Kent and Superman are just phenomenal. He brings so much hope to the character, the way he quacks little jokes.
Hi there. Nothing wrong with the elevator? I certainly hope this little incident hasn't put you off flying, miss. Statistically speaking, of course, it's still the safest way to travel. They say confession's good for the soul. I'd listen to this man.
And honestly, even a lot of the effects and action scenes still hold up. Specifically, what I'm referring to, the helicopter scene where he saves Lois Lane for the first time in Metropolis, that still looks pretty good. When he flies up in the air, like, that still holds up today for a movie made in 1978. Now, let me get into the bad of the movie, what I don't like. Lex Luthor's henchman, I forget his name. He's such a goof. He's just too silly. Like, it doesn't really make sense why Lex Luthor, as smart as he is, would keep someone such a liability to his plan of claiming land.
Oh, gee, Mr. Luthor. Oh, I guess my arm wasn't long enough, see?
Otis, would you like to see a long arm? Otis, would you like to see a very, very long arm?
No, Mr. Luthor. No.
The other thing, too, what I don't like is the ending where Superman goes back in time to save Lois Lane. It kind of undermines any stakes for future films with him because he could just go back in time. I know the Richard Donner cut does that for Superman 2, but I'm not watching that version. But anyways, besides the point, the movie before that point is just so good. When that music started playing, not even joking, I was getting up, bumping my head, because that song is just a classic. It's iconic. It's Superman. And I could see why James Gunn took inspiration from this era of the music to fit it into his film with the score. Solid Superman movie. Love it a lot. Gave it 3.5 stars. Anyways, on to my favorite live action Superman. As of now of recording this, because I have not seen David Cornsweet yet of the time of recording this, maybe that will become my new favorite Superman movie. You would know. You could just skip ahead right now to see what I think. Anyway, don't do that. Just watch the video. Next to the movie. Superman 2. Return of Christopher Reeve, now directed by two Richards, Richard Lester and Richard Donner. Now, everything I said about the last movie is not present in this cut of the movie. I know the Richard Donner cut is different. I'm not talking about that version. I'm talking about the main theatrical release of Superman 2. And I gotta say, this movie slaps, man. Oh my god. The whole opening with the music recapping the first movie is just fantastic. I love how they quickly establish anyone who hasn't seen the first one, gets them caught up real quick. What I didn't like in the first movie is completely gone in the second version. They get rid of Lex Luthor's silly henchman that is just ruining his plans. I'm so glad he gets stayed in the prison. I didn't like his character. Now, even though Zod also has an incompetent, kind of dumb Kryptonian, the fact he's very strong and he's Kryptonian make up for that fact that he's just dumb. He's actually useful, unlike whatever the this oaf was named. But yeah, Zod coming in, wrecking havoc, Superman giving away his powers, only realizing that it's important for him to have it to be Earth's protector against these 3 Kryptonians that came and started wrecking havoc. And honestly, watching this movie, you could definitely see where Zack Snyder got inspiration from this movie. Now, we're gonna talk about Man of Steel, so don't start getting mad that I'm giving Man of Steel props. All right, it's not as bad as y'all are claiming. I'll get to that later. But as I'm saying, if Richard Lester and Richard Donner had the technology and the budget that we have today to make their own version of Superman 2, Metropolis definitely would have gotten way more up in their version, because they try to do some destruction, but of course they're limited by their budget and technology and what they're able to do in 1980. Nonetheless, I feel it's a great story, and we'll talk more about this movie when I get to Man of Steel. Oh, I just love this. Is probably my favorite Superman movie. Before watching James Gunn's Superman, we'll get to that later on to see if I end up liking it more than this or not. We'll see where it ranks at the end of this video once I give that review. Anyway, 4 stars. Love this movie. Highly recommend. If you have not seen the Christopher Reeve movies, you definitely should watch them. They're great. Christopher Reeves embodies the character of Superman in such a great way, bringing that hope and optimism into his performance. He's fantastic in the role. He's the reason these movies do so well. Like, in my opinion, is why these movies are so good. Is the main star, and honestly, that's the best thing you can ask for any movie. Now, I will say, I also don't like the fact that he kisses Lois Lane and wipes her memory. That's kind of and Superman Returns kind of makes that plot a lot worse. We'll get to that. Superman 2, 4 stars. Love it. Anyways, let's move on to the not so good Superman movies.
Now, getting down to business.
The Richard Pryor movie featuring Superman, or as they like to title it, Superman 3. In 1983, Richard Pryor probably was a huge deal of the time, and the reason why that film gives me that idea is simply the fact of how much screen time he has in this movie and how goofy Metropolis becomes in this opening act. Now, I will say, this movie, the only enjoyment I have is how goofy it is. It just is so absurd, it actually makes me laugh. When it comes to the billionaire's girlfriend secretly being smart, that actually got me a few laughs.
How can he say that pure categories have no objective meaning and transcendental logic? What about synthetic unity?
With the computer bad guy, Richard Pryor just being an overall silly guy in this. His performance is actually pretty funny. I like Richard Pryor in this.
You didn't tell me your mother was going to be here.
I'm his sister.
It's just the fact that this is a Superman movie is what makes it a little weird. The other thing I really liked about Superman 3 is the introduction of Lana Lang. Now, I wish Ma Kent was also there since he's returning back to Smallville. However, I actually enjoy the relationship between Lana Lang and Clark Kent more than Lois and Superman in the previous movies, which is saying something.
Superman said to tell you he's really sorry, but he's run into kind of a problem and he won't be able to have dinner with you tonight.
Oh, well, I guess he misses a lot of dinners.
Yeah. Would you mind settling for me?
Any day. I'll get my things.
Okay.
And I thought it was a really interesting end to set up Lana Lang, now working at the Daily Planet, clearly has a more fond interest of Clark. And the fact she pulls up about a fat diamond ring in front of Lois is kind of just like, yeah, fuck you, Lois. You could have had this, man. She got that nice rock. Now, what ends up happening in this film is that they give him a piece of kryptonite trying to kill him, but instead it makes him evil. And I know how we all feel about evil Superman. Ooh. But I will say, the fight between Clark and Superman comes off very goofy, considering the fact that apparently evil Superman is trying to think of elaborate ways to kill Clark Kent, even though they both have the same powers and he should know putting him in a crusher would not kill him because he's Superman. And it's kind of funny how the quote-unquote good Clark Kent ends up choking out the bad Superman. Like, why didn't he think of that? He's like, Clark is like, "F this, I'm just gonna choke you out." Like, this is wild. It's a silly, goofy movie, but because of how silly and goofy it is, I think it kind of makes up for it. Not really. Anyways, I believe I rated this 2.5 stars. The half star, just because of how goofy it is, makes me enjoy it a little more. Definitely not the best Superman movie, but because of how silly it is, I think it's still worth watching. Now, I wish I could say the same thing about the next Superman movie, but no. So Superman 4 was actually directed by Sidney J. Furie. Now, I haven't seen their other work, so I can't say to their credit of what kind of director they are. All I could judge is this solo film, so that's what I'm gonna do. And I did not enjoy it that much. Alright, let's just get into the things I liked about this movie before we dive deeper. Superman's speech with the nations of the world, talking about nuclear weapons and how he wants to see the world progress and has hope for them. Yeah, I like those speeches. I think that's good. Now, Superman 4, Quest of Peace, very, very interesting. It's weird that Superman 3 sets up the love triangle of Lois and Lana and Clark, but they go absolutely nowhere with it because she's just completely written out of the next movie. She's gone. I don't know what the fuck happened to her. Who knows? They end up getting this new love interest too, who's obsessed with Clark.
Yeah, hi, Clark. Please come in.
They have a scene in this movie where Clark has to go on a double date as himself and Superman. I mean, they're both him. Your debate on which he's more of. Anyway, it's fascinating how they could have had it be Lana Lang, a character established in the previous film, but they just bring up this new love interest for Clark, which I don't get why. Probably there's a reason why they had this actor in this film. She probably was a huge star of the time. I am definitely unsure of that, but regardless, it is a silly premise, him switching back and forth as Clark and Superman. It's funny. I like it. It's not that bad. However, I felt it would have been more interesting if Lana Lang was in this movie and Lois. Now, Superman ends up doing the kiss thing again. Just like, Clark, what the f? You can't just decide when she's a part of your life and when she isn't. That's hella dumb. That's kind of up, dude. You gotta stop. And Superman Returns make that kiss way worse, but again, we'll get into that. It's a silly, goofy movie. The ending where this love interest is in space with Nuclear Man, that's when I was like, alright, this movie, it's going too far, especially in the fact that the movie starts with him saving astronauts wearing astronaut gear, yet somehow this lady's able to breathe in space. So what, are these astronauts just wearing this for no reason? These is Russia idiots? Guys, humans can breathe in space. You don't need those. What are you doing? Wasting money. It's a very goofy movie. An extremely goofy movie. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I think I only gave it 2 stars. Now let's get into these last 3 modern Superman films, as I do have a lot more to say about these ones and the others. Let's move on to Superman Returns. Wait, that's not the right theme. Anyway, Superman Returns, directed by Bryan Singer. Did you guys get the joke from the? Did you guys get it? With the X-Men theme? Did you guys get it? I was really excited to rewatch this film because this was the first Superman movie I saw in theaters. I remember loving it so much that I got the DVD and I would watch it all the time as a kid. So much, in fact, that when I was gonna rewatch this movie, I actually pulled out my DVD of this movie, and when I tried to click play, the movie would just freeze in the main menu screen every time. I guess I just messed up the disc that much from rewatching. I have no idea. But yes, like I said, I have a lot of fond memories watching this movie. However, that being said, definitely did not hold up in my eyes. Anyway, let's just get into the positives. Brandon Routh is phenomenal in this. He does a really good job not only making this role his own, but also putting in that Christopher Reeve charm into it. Now, I'm sure if he was given a little bit more to do with that in the script, we could have seen more of it a lot better. But with the airplane scene, which is the coolest Superman scene in live action, well, is it? We'll see after watching James Gunn. I don't know. Him catching a bullet to the eye awesome, iconic. I remember people bringing that up all the time when this movie came out. I love how they bring back the original music. Now, this might be a little controversial because let's not open that can of worms about the actor, but Kevin Spacey does a really good job, and I honestly like him a lot more in this movie than in the past Christopher Reeves movie. Now, I'm not saying he's bad in those movies. I really love Lex Luthor in those movies as well. I think probably like half a point more. I like Kevin Spacey more as Lex Luthor. I think he just really does a great job on the island, and he's like, kryptonite. Made me laugh. I like how Ma Kent is in the beginning of this movie, that they don't just kill her off like they do in Superman 3. However, she's barely in the movie. I don't know if that was the best thing to add her, if you're just not gonna have her actually be a character. She just shows up in the beginning, shows up once at the end. Oh, that's another thing I did like. The ending where they're showing Superman's vulnerability, him lifting up the Kryptonite Island into space, and the hospital and the world coming together to hope that Superman recovers and does not pass away. Now, the reason I like this scene is because before watching Superman Returns, I ended up watching the Christopher Reeve story, the documentary about him, and that just gave me a whole new idea and look of Christopher Reeve as Superman. It kind of really showed how the people of the time viewed Christopher Reeve and how much they loved him as the character. Now, unfortunately, if you're not aware, Christopher Reeve has passed away. What ended up happening is he ended up getting in an accident during an equestrian meet, fell off his horse, and became paralyzed. It's just a beautiful story about him and his wife about that time. I feel you guys should really watch this documentary. This is like a 5-star doc. I love this documentary. I think I give it 5 stars or maybe 4.5. Fantastic. Definitely highly recommend watch the Christopher Reeve story. But anyway, after watching that documentary, it gave me a sense of, okay, I kind of want Superman Returns to kind of pay homage to Christopher Reeve. Now, I wanted to kind of either send his legacy off as a goodbye or just do something with that. And the only two things that really pay homage to him is Brandon Routh as Superman. I feel he does embody that version of Christopher Reeve while still making his own. And the ending in the hospital showing that vulnerability and how people come around to want Superman to recover, just like how they wanted Christopher Reeve to recover, always sending him letters and hoping he gets better. Everything else about this movie is kind of During the plot of this movie, it's revealed that Lois Lane has a kid, and that kid is Superman because he pushes a piano straight into this goon. God, we really can't say goon anymore, huh? I'm gonna keep saying it, I don't care. So yeah, he pushes the piano on this goon. Lois is just looking at him, and if you remember correctly in Superman 2, her memory gets wiped, so she does not remember being in a relationship with Superman. So right now, she's probably thinking, when the did I have sex with Superman? And the movie doesn't really show that she remembers after that point, so I'm assuming she still doesn't remember, which is kind of because like Clark has some explaining to do. I do say another thing I do enjoy is I feel Lex Luthor's plan is a perfect continuation to what his previous plans were in the previous 2 movies. So Lex Luthor always talks about how his father says that land is the one thing that humans always want, and that he's always trying to claim land to himself. So what better way to build land the same way Clark built the Fortress of Solitude, and with a little twist, he made the land so that way it essentially makes it that Superman has 0 jurisdiction on his island. I feel that's a genius plan. I feel that actually is really smart. Like, yeah, if you're gonna want land and the one dude that could stop you keeps messing with your plans, you're gonna make it out of the one thing he can't mess with. So after Superman stops the robbery, the movie kind of slows down a bit and kind of becomes a little boring to watch. Of course, when Superman comes in, the movie picks back up, seeing the action and the effects with him. But yeah, it does kind of slow down. I will say, it absolutely makes 0 sense that not a single person can figure out that Clark Kent is Superman. Like, let's literally think about this. Clark Kent and Superman disappear on the same time in 1980, right? Then 5 years later, somehow Clark and Superman return the same day. Dude, like, come on, the dude is obviously Superman. And yeah, Cyclops over here kind of starts figuring that out, but then he's just like, nah, it couldn't be Clark. Like, dude, what do you mean? You're a journalist. Not a single one of you could put those pieces together. This movie apparently supposed to take place 5 years after Superman 2, but as you could clearly see, that makes absolutely no sense because the movie takes place in the early 2000s. How the is it 5 years later Superman 2 takes place in 1980? Now, I thought this movie would have been way more interesting if they actually would have made it kind of a period piece, or it took place in 1985. You have the sets, the wardrobe, all match that era, while at the same time having modern visual effects. I feel this movie would have looked way more better. It would have actually have like kind of a style. This film does not benefit at all being in a floating timeline. They should have just made the movie set in 1985 to give it a very nice visual style. I will say, as a kid, I used to like the Superman suit, but now realizing it is that a lot of the promotion give the costume a lot more bright red than the film actually has, where it's kind of like a burgundy color. I wish I still had the same love I did back then watching this movie. I simply just don't. But the things that work in it are good. Brandon Routh, again, was fantastic in the role. But unfortunately, this movie suffers for a lot of other things, making it a 2-star film, in my opinion. I guess I recommend watching it just to finish out the quote-unquote Christopher Reeve stories, but it's not as enjoyable to rewatch. Anyways, let's get on to the movie that has divided people for so many years. Man of Steel. Man of Steel. This released in 2013, directed by Zack Snyder, who I just gotta say, Zack Snyder looks like a really nice guy. I kind of really want to meet him just to talk about things. He just seems like a really chill, nice guy. I wish I could say the same thing about his quote-unquote fan, which I'm gonna say this right now. If you claim yourself to be a Snyder fan, but you're constantly trashing other projects and always saying return the Snyderverse, bring back the Snyderverse, I don't think you're actually a Snyder fan, because your ideologies do not represent at all what Snyder is and how much of a humble guy he is. He loves how passionate you guys are, but the way you guys come off is definitely not what Snyder would do at all. He's a really nice guy, and it's unfortunate his fan base is very toxic.
I'm sorry, Zack Snyder. I shouldn't be lashing out at you. Your biceps are the size of my head.
Yes, but so is my heart.
Anyway, this movie came out in 2013. You hear that, Snyder fans? It's been 11 years since this movie came out. Let it go! I really only have one negative about this, and we'll just quickly cover that. It's Jonathan Kent, how he's written this movie. That's the only thing I really don't like about this movie. Now, granted, the scene where he's talking to Clark about him saving a bus of kids, I know for a fact he's not saying that Clark should have let them die. It's very obvious that's not what he means when he says maybe. However, when it comes to the line delivery and the words he's saying, makes it come off that way. The way I feel this scene should have played out is Paul should have came up to Clark, and before he even says a word, Clark should have been like, I know, you said I need to keep my powers a secret, but what was I supposed to do? Should I just left them to die? And then Paul Kent should have simply been, well, you made a choice, and you did what you did. It's in the past, and we can't change it. So let me just try to guide you of what to do next time. I feel that would have been a way better conversation, although I will say I love when Clark asks,
can I just keep pretending I'm your son?
You are my son.
That's a beautiful line. I love that. It's really good. The major thing I don't like is a tornado scene, because it makes absolutely no sense. And let me explain why. The whole point of Jonathan Kent's ideology is the fact that he believes the world is not ready to view someone with that much incredible power who can be their savior. He just feels they're not ready. So much so that he'd rather die in a tornado than let Clark save him. I understand that this is a very different adaptation of Jonathan Kent, and I understand the lessons he's trying to teach Clark are not about that he can't save everyone. However, the way this scene plays out doesn't work simply for the fact that Clark could have easily ran to the car, opened the door, and let the dog out and run back without using any of his powers. No one would have questioned Clark doing that. Very young, he's a farmer boy, looks very active, and he obviously would have been able to run faster than Pa Kent to the car and run back quicker than Pa Kent. Because let's face it, he's younger than him. He's a young guy. He's going to be more agile than him. So it doesn't make sense that he doesn't let Clark go and save the dog himself. No one would question him. No one is going to think he's some kind of super savior because he runs to open a car door for a dog and run back. No one would question that. It doesn't make sense that it has to be Jonathan to do it. Granted, it could have done the other argument that if Clark did get caught there in the tornado and then survived, then it would have exposed his secret. But I generally feel Jonathan takes so long to get to the car and open the door is the reason why the tornado gets him in the first place. Whereas Clark would have not easily have taken that long to do it, even without using his super speed. Anyway, that's the only thing I dislike about the movie. My favorite thing about this movie is all the scenes with Clark and his mom, the way Henry Cavill embodies that glow whenever he's with his mother. And honestly, every time Henry Cavill smiles and sees he's having fun, I love it. With a better script, I would have said Henry Cavill is definitely the best live action Superman. He definitely embodies the character he has to look. Henry Cavill is fantastic. There's no doubt about it. Zack Snyder's visuals in these movies are fantastic. There's no questioning that. The music from these movies by Hans Zimmer is amazing. There's no question about it. However, when it comes to the writing of these movies, and I feel writing is king when you're making movies, that's where it's kind of lacking. Not in Man of Steel, it's more in Batman v Superman, but we'll get to that. Now, I brought up previously that you can clearly see the inspiration from Superman 2 in Man of Steel. People always complain that, what? Superman snaps Zod's neck? Superman can't do that. But he is definitely allowed to crush Zod's hand and throw him into a pit of despair. That's fine. He could kill Zod that way, but not snapping his neck. And Superman destroying some random dude's truck at the bar, that's not Superman. He wouldn't do that. Superman coming back a few days later to pick on that same dude and embarrass him at that bar, yeah, that's fine. Superman definitely would do that, but not destroy the dude's truck. No. That's crossing the line. You see what I mean? People claim Man of Steel is a terrible representation of Superman, but then glaze this Christopher Reeves movie, even though Christopher Reeves Superman does a lot of the same things Henry Cavill Superman does. But here's the main difference, and this is what I'm going to explain as to why they're different. It is because Christopher Reeve has the charisma that makes it more hopeful. He's not always just sad. And again, I understand this adaptation of the character, and the story that's happening on is more emotional. However, because there's not a lot of written for him to show that charm and charisma, that's what makes it feel like this movie is just doom and gloom and not as hopeful as what a Superman movie is. I feel that's what fully changes as to why people's opinion about him killing Zod and stuff make it not okay. But then again, I don't understand why people are upset that he kills Zod in this movie, because Christopher Reeve also killed Zod in his movie. Zod gives Superman no choice. He is literally about to kill innocent human. Like, if this was your family about to be hit by lasers, are you gonna want Superman to not kill Zod, or are you gonna want him to kill Zod? Obviously, you're gonna want him to stop him. And someone's like, oh, but he could have just thrown him somewhere else. He literally throws him up to space and they go back down. Zod was not going to stop. There is no other way to stop him. He doesn't have a phantom zone. He doesn't have any jail to hold him. There was nothing he could have done to stop Zod other than killing him. Zod even says it.
There's only one way this ends, Cal. Either you die or I do.
So what did he have to do? He had to do what he had to do. And obviously, he's filled with regret that he did do that. He's not joyful that he killed Zod. He regrets it. But he was left with no other choice. And I feel that was a good scene. People upset that he killed Zod. It makes no sense. He had no other choice. The best scenes are definitely whenever it's Clark and his mom. Ma Kent is just fantastic in this movie. Same with anytime Clark is with her. Like, I generally love the part where Zod is about to kill Ma Kent, and then Clark just comes swooping in, beating the shit out of Zod, and he's like, "You think you can threaten my mother?" Like, that's emotional. It's like, yes, this dude really cares about his mom. Like, Like, I love that a lot. Like, that is exactly what Superman would do if anyone threatened his mother. Like, get the fuck away from her. Like, that was fantastic. Again, yes, I understand there's a lot of destruction going on in these cities, but like I said previously, if Richard Donner had the budget and effects that they had in 2013, he definitely would have destroyed Metropolis a lot more than it does in his version of Superman 2. So again, it's not a valid criticism. Yes, I grant it's so much destruction to the point where it's like, dude, you clearly didn't save the city. Like, it's fully destroyed. And I know in Batman v Superman they try to minimize it, like they don't make it look as bad, but nah, the center point of where the world engine was, he literally leveled that entire area. Everyone around there is dead. Well, mostly everyone around there is dead. Man of Steel is the third best live action Superman movie. Like, there's no question about it. There's no way you're gonna tell me you would rather watch The Quest for Peace or Superman 3 or Superman Returns over this movie. There's just no way. The visuals, the music, the actions, Henry Cavill really carried this movie to make it better than those. All in all, I give it 3 stars. It's a solid movie. I feel it's overhated for no reason. I understand the points of hating it, and I agree with some of them, but I think it's overhated. Now, the next film, I think it's justified why people don't like it. Let's get into Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. Boom, 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 boom. Now, when I first watched this movie in theaters, I actually enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. Now, granted, I saw everything wrong with the movie. It was clear as day. What made me ignore it is the fact seeing the DC Trinity for the first time in live action. I felt that really carried my enjoyment of this movie. It really reminded me of the classic Justice League Unlimited cartoons, and it was just really fun visually see the action. Of course, the music comes back in this fantastic score. Of course, Henry Cavill still plays great Superman. He has the aesthetic. I just wish he had a better script. If you're a Batman fan, it's clear as day why you don't like this movie. Batman kills, alright? Now, this movie came out 2016. I feel this adaptation, we just gotta accept that Batfleck and Michael Keaton's Batman, they kill. It is what it is. We gotta get over it. I looked at this movie in a different lens. This is my third time rewatching this movie, and unfortunately, every time I rewatch this movie, I end up liking it less and less. So I don't think I'm watching it ever again to keep my opinion where it is. If you watch Batman v Superman with the idea that Batman is the antagonist until Lex Luthor comes into play fully, then the movie kind of makes a lot more sense. However, if you're a Batman fan, you're not gonna like the fact that Batman being an antagonist. Now, I understand Batman's motivation. I understand why he believes he needs to kill Superman, but it doesn't matter what his motivation is, because the end result of killing Superman still make him the antagonist. And now, I know the main argument is that Superman and Batman want to kill each other, but Superman doesn't want to kill Batman. It is very clear he doesn't believe he's an executioner. Now, it's still left ambiguous if he kills the terrorist in the beginning of the movie, which I feel they should have made it clear that he didn't kill him to kind of push this narrative that he doesn't kill and Lex is just trying to frame him. But regardless, it is clear as day, before the Martha scene, Batman is the bad guy. Like, that is just how he is written. He is written as I wouldn't say bad guy. He's written as the antagonist. And let's get into the Martha scene and why it just simply doesn't work because of everything that's written before the scene and after the scene. This is supposed to be the moment where Bruce sees himself that he has become the thing he would fight against, even though in the literal next scene he blows up an entire warehouse full of goons. Batman does not have a character arc. He just simply decides not to kill Superman because his mom has the same name as him. And I know some of you will be like, that's not the point of the messaging. I know that's not the point they tried to make, but that's how it comes off with the writing of the movie. He literally believes Superman is a threat. He literally gets visited by the Flash, being told, he literally gets a file seeing the metahumans and sees Flash is there. So he obviously knows, oh shit, that was the dude I saw in my dream that showed me the future. He knows he's bad. Now, whether he believes that was a dream or not is kind of dumb, because he knows, like, what? He just envisioned the Flash and then saw the metahumans and was like, whoa, wait a minute. That's the guy I saw in my dream. So the fact that he decides not to kill him now because Martha had the same name. Also, that also brings up the point. If his mom wasn't named Martha, would Batman have stopped if Lois said that's his mother's name? Obviously not. Now, I do make sense that Bruce would kind of get whiplash of hearing Superman say, save Martha, because obviously the dude dresses like a bat to go fight crime because of what happened to his parents. So yeah, anything slightly connected to his parents will trigger him. So I understand that point. However, ultimately does come down to he doesn't kill Superman because his mom has the same name. The other thing we don't like is Doomsday in this movie. Actually, that isn't Doomsday. Yes, it is. Lex Luthor literally says,
You're Doomsday.
It's supposed to be Doomsday. They just tried to backtrack saying, actually, it's not the real Doomsday. It was. It's the real Doomsday. Shut the up. It is. Literally killing Superman in his second appearance was just not the move. The reason why I say that is, let's assume the DCEU was supposed to continue 10 years like the Marvel Universe. Were you just going to do the death of Superman again? Or were you going to kill him off in a different way? Like, what were your goals? Like, we know what Snyder was planning, making Superman a bad guy, which I really didn't want to see. Regardless of that point, it's just fascinating to me that they decide to adapt the story, the death of Superman, in his second film. That's something they definitely should have saved, definitely build up to more. It just makes this movie feel more crammed, and I felt it would have been better if they just ended it where Superman and Batman team up to apprehend Lex Luthor. Look, you couldn't even have Lex Luthor, kryptonite suit or whatever, tries to fight Superman, is winning, Batman comes in, helps him, and then Batman's about to kill Lex Luthor, and then Superman stops him and goes, no, we need to be better. And then that's where Batman gets that idea of not killing anymore because of Superman. Like, I felt you should have just made Lex Luthor the bad guy. And if you look at this as an actual adaptation of Lex Luthor, yeah, it's goofy. I don't like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor at all. It's goofy. He fits more as the Riddler. But if you come up with the idea that this is Lex Luthor Jr. and not actually Lex Luthor, then it kind of works. The only thing I like about his performance as Lex Luthor is his reasoning as to why he wants to bring down Superman. He was abused by his father as a kid. No one came to save him. All of a sudden, years later, there's a savior now in the world, and he wants to disprove that Superman cannot be all good and all powerful, which I feel that's valid. I feel that's a valid crash out for Lex Luthor. I feel that's a good reason wanting to bring him down. His plan goes out the window when you realize while Superman is fighting Batman, he is cooking up Doomsday in the back. What was his plan after if Superman actually would have killed Batman? Or vice versa, if Batman actually would have killed Superman? What would he have done? If Doomsday would have just came running out and started destroying the city, now you have absolutely zero way of stopping him. Doomsday is the reason this movie gets brought down a lot. I feel everything else is pretty interesting. This movie gets it too. Like, this is literally the worst Superman movie. I love the action, I love the music, I love Henry Cavill. Ben Affleck also looks fantastic as Batman. Like, the costume was good. Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman is sick too. I generally like these three as the character, although again, the script is king. The writing of a movie is the main important thing of any movie, and I feel that is where this film lacks the most. And that's what breaks it down so much for me to like a 2. Batman v Superman. It's been being by a dead horse countless times of why it doesn't work, why it's actually genius, and you're an idiot. It could have been better. You can't deny it could have been better written. Honestly, if they just would have cut out Doomsday, I think it would have been a lot better. And not kill Superman in his second movie. And also, it doesn't make sense either, the ending. They show the dirt rising up as if he's actually alive, but then in Justice League they confirm that no, he's actually dead. That dirt rising didn't mean shit at all. Like, that doesn't mean anything. He's dead. He's still dead in the next movie. So what was the point of that? Let's get into James Gunn's Superman. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, dun, 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 dun. Bum, dun, dun. Bum, dun, dun, dun. Bum, 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 do, 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 do. I need to make a retraction. Man of Steel is no longer the third best Superman movie. It's not on the top 3 no more. So yeah, I watched James Gunn's Superman the 8th. I gave myself a couple of days to think about my thoughts and honestly to think of something I didn't like of the movie, because after watching it I just felt pure euphoria. And anyways, let's just get into what I disliked about it. This video is long enough already. So the main thing I kind of don't like is they made Lara and Jor-El evil. It's kind of weird that they made it that they sent him to Earth to rule over it. However, I feel it becomes justified once we meet Pa Kent and he gives a speech to Clark about how his choices are more important than whatever your parents try to raise you to, because at the end of the day you're your own person. And I felt that was really good. That was a holy Pa Kent, definitely the best Pa Kent we ever get in a movie, because he always dies. So yeah, not that hard to beat. The other thing I don't like, Baby Joey CGI. This is like a nitpick, by the way. Like, these are all nitpicks. Baby Joey, his CGI, it kind of looked off. A lot of the CGI scenes kind of looked off. I can only think of like 2 things that looked off to me. Everything else was fine. Flying, I don't really like how James Gunn shoots flying scenes. I didn't even like in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 how they shot that. It just looked weird. Those are like real nitpicks, really. They don't really bring the movie down in any way. And like I've said many times in this video, story is king. That being said, I will take bad CGI over a bad script any day of the week. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about the things I like now, because I like things more than dislike. I love how the film starts showing Clark at his lowest point. They start, like, I believe 5 minutes after he gets his ass kicked for the first time ever, and that's just awesome. Put him at his lowest point. I like how they show Lois and Clark having relationship issues in the beginning. Like, they really put him down, so that way throughout the whole movie he keeps rising up towards his struggles. Really, really fantastic. The movie feels like a comic book. That's amazing. And if you think that's a bad thing to say about, oh, this movie's like a comic book, it's Superman. It's supposed to be a comic book movie. Like, what else do you want from it? Anyway, let's move on. The amount of times Superman saves people in this movie, but also not just people, the actual city, like trying to minimize as much destruction as possible, is just, oh my god. I loved every time he saved someone or tried to stop something from crashing into a building. Like, it's like, dude, yes, this is what was missing from Henry Cavill's Superman. Yeah, he saved a couple people here and there, but dude, come on. David Cornsweet's Superman literally saved everyone. And now, speaking about David Cornsweet, I am still iffy on where I rank him as a live action Superman, so much so that I think him and Christopher Reeve are neck and neck. Like, I have them tied right now. I'm gonna give myself a few more months before I make a decision on that, because I feel like, I don't know, I think I'm just still feeling that hype after watching the movie, so I should give myself a bit of time before I fully say on here if he's better. That being said, best live action Lois Lane by far. I love her character, though. The way she looks, the way she acts, everything about it, just best Lois Lane in live action, period. The other character I did not expect to like this much in the movie is Mr. Terrific. It's actually pretty crazy how cool he is. I normally don't like a character who's just, I'm super smart. Like, it kind of bores me. The only character I really like that is Reed Richards, because he's also stretchy and he's in a team with other characters and they kind of balance him out. So that makes it a little more interesting. However, that being said, I love Mr. Terrific now. I gotta read some Mr. Terrific comics first. I was sleeping on my boy. That's on me. But yeah, Mom and Pa Kent, as soon as they show up on screen, instantly loved them. They're great. I will say though, Zack Snyder still has the better Ma Kent, half a point more. I like Ma Kent but I love Ma and Pa in this movie. Like, now let's get into Nicholas Hoult, Lex Luthor. This portrayal of Lex Luthor is what Jesse Eisenberg was trying to do with his characters. I forgot to turn off the AC again. Anyway, we're just it'll turn off in a bit. Anyway, Lex Luthor in this movie is fucking evil, man. Lex Luthor in this film is what Jesse Eisenberg was trying to do with his performance, where he was trying to show that very envious side of Lex Luthor and how he just wants to destroy Superman. But here, it's way better. For one, Lex Luthor's a lot smarter when it comes to comparing it to Jesse Eisenberg. His plan makes a lot more sense, and it is insane. He kills some random dude just because he helped pick up Superman in the beginning of the movie. He just Russian roulette styles that dude. That's fucking insane that he does that. I also like at the end he reveals that he only started a war in Bravia. I believe that's what the country was. Anyway, the fact he only started that war because he knew Superman would go and stop the war, and he wanted to get a pass to legally kill Superman, essentially. So that's what makes it more interesting about than Lex Luthor. See, Jesse Eisenberg, he just wanted to kill Superman like in secret while also still being a good public figure. Lex did not give a single He wanted to be loved by the population, but he also wanted Superman to know that I'm the one who's killing you, and I'm doing it legally. That is insane. This dude is crazy. And the fact, even when Superman brings up he's envious and he's just like, yeah, no, I don't give a shit. I want you dead, you stupid alien. If Lois Lane would have called him psychotic, this version of Lex Luthor would have been like, yeah, I don't give a f. I'm killing your boyfriend. The action, it's great to watch. Although, yeah, the airplane scene from Superman Returns, definitely still my favorite scene. Christopher Reeve score, his iconic song, is the best song. Better than Hans Zimmer's Man of Steel theme. Anyways, let's get into the ratings of all the characters and how I have them. So, in order of worst to best, they're not bad. I don't think any of the Superman actors are bad. So I have Brandon Routh, Henry Cavill, and then Christopher Reeve and David Cornsweet are tied. When it comes to Lois Lane, however, Amy Adams and Margot Kidder are also tied because their connection to Superman in those movies don't really hit. Like, I do not feel the chemistry. Whereas here in this version of James Gunn, as soon as you see them on screen, you're like, these people have been dating for 3 months. Like, you believe it. So when it comes to the Lex Luthor rankings, I have Jesse Eisenberg at the bottom. It's just, he's a goof. Oh my god, I said it again. Gene Hackman. And then by half a point, Kevin Spacey. Again, it's just, I love how serious he is in Superman Returns and how just menacing he looks. And then right after is Nicholas Hoult. I feel he is just phenomenal in this role. He perfectly balances the menacing side of Lex Luthor and that intelligence while also being that like very envious and psychotic version of Lex that Jesse Eisenberg was trying to do. But I will say my favorite Lex Luthor of all time is still Clancy Brown from the animated series and Justice League Unlimited. Like, I hope Nicholas Hoult can become that. If we're going to talk about things that the other movies do better, Man of Steel for sure has the better Mark Kent, has better CGI, and has the best cinematography out of all the Superman movies. However, James Gunn's Superman, he has the best Lois and Clark romance of all these movies. Like, this is the best we've seen them together. Oh, Christopher Reeve, of course. His music is iconic. I feel like I just feel something. I feel that hope whenever that music comes on. I'm not discrediting Hans Zimmer. That song is solid. You're not beating the classic, iconic Christopher Reeve's Superman theme. Overall, let's rank all these movies from worst to best, starting with Batman v Superman. It's just the worst Superman movie. I have Superman 4 right after that. Then I have Justice League. I hate Justice League. Then we got Superman 3, Superman Returns. Then I have the Snyder Cut before Superman Returns, only because The Flash and the rest of the Justice League carry that movie, even though Superman is only in it for 20 minutes, probably at most. Then after Snyder Cut, I got Man of Steel. Then I got Superman 1978. And then I have Superman 2 at second. And yes, this is going to sound pretty crazy, and you're probably going to say it's because I just recently saw the movie, so I'm still riding that high. I tried to give myself a couple of days to see if my mood changed. Every time I kept looking at the footage while I was editing the video of David Cornsweet, I just couldn't stop myself from smiling. Like, that's how much I enjoyed this movie. It was that good. Now, the reason why I put it at number 1 is because it does the clone thing a lot better than Superman: The Quest of Peace. He doesn't get a giant manicure and blonde hair. It's straight up just a clone of Superman. The romance is better. They show the hope of Superman way better than any of the other movies. Again, probably tying with Christopher Reeves showing it, but I feel this movie does a really good job embracing that hope, as everyone really is hoping Superman is going to come and save them. The savior message in this movie is a lot more subtle. I swear to God, that was the only annoying thing about Zack Snyder's Superman, is the fact they really hit hard on, like, this guy is Jesus, like doing the Christ Jesus pose so f***ing often, and it's like, we get it, he's essentially God, we understand. Whereas this movie makes it a lot more subtle that people see him as a god. What makes it different is that he makes himself approachable, so like children and anyone could come up to him, and he knows everyone, and he seems more like a friend than a god. Best Lex Luthor. I loved his plan. I loved how evil he is. I love when villains are villains. Pa Kent, best Pa Kent. Again, not hard to beat, but again, Pa Kent is amazing in this. I'm glad he doesn't die, so we could get him on for a few more movies, and then when that finally happens, I think it'll probably crush people. Make us care about these characters before you kill them off. Don't kill them off in the second movie. Let us build to it. Yes, I'm talking about Batman v Superman. I didn't give a when Superman died in that movie. We barely knew him. We didn't get enough time with him for me to really care. Could you imagine if Iron Man died in Iron Man 2 before the Avengers movie? Could you imagine that? Yeah, my point exactly. And then overall, showing how Superman struggles throughout this movie in such creative ways. Really, really creative. I love how when they go into the pocket dimension, because there's no sun in there, Clark can't heal, so then Metamorpho has to make a sun with his powers. I was seeing early complaints that the trailer made it look like it's overstuffed and there's too many characters in the movie. However, they all have a reason to be there for Superman's characters. The Justice Gang being there are showing that Superman not only influences normal people to do better, but now he's influencing the other heroes to step up and actually be heroes. Superman is busy trying to save Metropolis, so he can't stop the war going on in Abravia. So then the Justice Gang step up for him, even though they knew it was very controversial for Superman to do that. Same with Metamorpho joining in to help because of Superman. Like, I really like how they show him struggling. And then at the end of the movie, he rises up. This movie's awesome. I love it. And I'm going to end the video with this final note. He saved a squirrel. Anyway, this took forever to edit because DaVinci Resolve sucks. This should have been done by like 12 o'clock. It's currently 10 o'clock when I'm posting. Like, no, not when I'm posting, when I'm done recording this. I really wanted to post this earlier today, whatever. Anyway, next video, I would love to do something comic book related, like an actual comic book, but most likely gonna do the reviews of the Fantastic Four movies next. That's gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching this. If you stuck to the end, which I really gotta thank you, please subscribe, leave a like if you liked the video. If you didn't like the video, leave a like anyway, because like the dislike button doesn't work. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.